Aidan, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Aidan, I really want to dive into your story. And many years ago, you moved from New Zealand to the Philippines, and that actually opened a whole fresh perspective on your life. And that ultimately led to the inspiration to create the world's greatest experiment. Can you tell us more about that journey and what emerged from it?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a small town in New Zealand, and I guess it was a little bit of a chaotic childhood, and I sort of was never really felt like I belonged there, and so I ended up kind of, I guess you'd say, running away just before my 16th birthday, and I ended up in Australia for a little while, but then I I ended up deciding that I needed to do a complete 180 in my life. I was headed down a path that I wasn't, I was pretty sure wasn't going to end in the right place. And so I got a globe and I spun a globe, put my finger on it, I closed my eyes, put my finger on it, and I landed on the Philippines. And at the time, it seemed like that made the most sense. It seemed like I was so far away from the truth or where I was supposed to be that ending up on the other side of the world, I'd probably be closer to wherever it was I was supposed to go. So I bought a ticket to the Philippines and I ended up staying there for a couple of years. And during that time, I actually, was an illegal alien there. I didn't have the right documentation and I'd run out of money. And a Filipino family that I met while I was over there sort of took me in, and we kind of just like had this soul connection. It was like we loved each other. They took me in as their unofficial New Zealand son. And so I had three Filipino brothers and two Filipino sisters and endless cousins. I think my Filipino dad was one of 15 kids. So it was really, really big families. And yeah, one day I was sitting down with my Filipino dad and I just asked him, I was like, thank you so much for essentially saving my life. How can I ever repay you for what you guys have done for me, for sort of giving me love, when I didn't feel like I had it. And he told me that when I'm in a position to pay it forward to somebody, to consider the debt repaid. And that was like 24 years ago now, so it's a long time ago. But in that moment, I made a promise to myself that I was going to try and find a way to pay that kindness forward on a much bigger scale than what he asked for. It was such a beautifully simple request that he asked for. And I was really struck by the idea that if I did that for somebody and they did it for somebody, it would carry on for eternity, just that one act of love. And there was something really powerful about that. And I thought if I can, I was going to make it my life's mission to come up with a project or an initiative that could pay that love forward on a bigger scale while they're still around, so that I can give credit to them and say, this was the seed of love that you planted has grown into something.
Fantastic. So tell us more about the world's greatest experiment that was inspired by this experience that you just shared.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a mixture of two things. The first is I've always felt like I wanted to do something about poverty, like seeing when I was living in the Philippines. I've also done a lot of travel to other parts of the world and seeing how some of these people are living and the opportunities that they have or don't have. It just always felt really unjust and unfair. And it also felt like there was no reason for it. Like we have such an abundant world that, it seems that the models that we've got in place to deal with poverty, the current nonprofit and charity models, to me, they just seem like they're a bit flawed because, in my way of looking at it, they're never really going to solve the problem. It's at best like a band-aid solution. There's lots of great organizations doing great things, but the problem is they always rely on generosity. If someone feels generous, they give, and we can do so much with that. But unless everybody all of a sudden has a massive change of heart and decides that they want to be a lot more generous, we're going to keep facing the same problems through time. So I became really captivated with the idea of what if we took more of an entrepreneurial mindset to nonprofits, charities, and solving the problems, to see if we could come up with something that would have to be really out of the box, probably really different because nobody's done it before, but there's got to be solutions out there that could scale faster than the problem and therefore one day result in the end of poverty. And so that was the sort of premise. And I knew that that was a pretty big, lofty goal to try and come up with something. So I pondered on it for a long time. And the only thing I could think of where that type of solution would even be possible was if we could somehow figure out a value that these people in poverty had that perhaps wasn't being realized right now, that we could tap into and utilize it in a way where we could extract enough value from that to lift them out of poverty. But the value would be great enough that people who had stuff around the world would want whatever that was that we extracted. And what I ended up landing on was the only thing that I could think of was actually love or energy, because these people have nothing, very little, but they all know how to love. And that obviously might sound a little out there to a lot of people, but over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I've gotten really into the science behind this now. And, there's guys like Dr. Joe Dispenza who are literally proving that love and meditation can heal all sorts of diseases, stage 4 brain tumors and cancers and all sorts of things. And the science is sort of starting to catch up to the spirituality, sort of coming full circle right now. And so I became really captivated with the idea of what if we could go into the world's poorest communities, teach them how to meditate and send love, which is obviously something that's very good for them anyway. Lots of research on meditation and how it helps your health, your mindset. And then what if we could capture that love or direct that love back to the people or companies that were essentially the donors to help these people in poverty. And it struck me that could be a model that could really scale, because when you give money in a normal nonprofit, you give something to somebody that needs it. So we tick all the normal boxes of a nonprofit, but where the disconnect is sort of happening at the moment is it sort of ends there. And I thought, well, if we could capture that energy on the other side and direct it back to the donors, and let's say we could prove that if your business streamed love to your product or service, or an individual streamed love into their life from all the people they're helping out of poverty, if we could show that shifted the needle somehow in the business or in the person's life, then we'd have a really interesting situation on our hands where we could start to show that by helping people out of poverty and receiving love, it can actually be an investment, something that can improve the quality of your life or your business. So essentially, we're turning love into a currency that would allow people in poverty to get lifted out from their current state and look after those that they care about the most and take care of their basic needs.
How beautiful, Aidan. What have you learned, and what stories can you share with us that can inspire our leaders to also get involved and participate in this beautiful endeavor that you have created?
I can give you some examples of the 2 projects that we've got going at the moment. We have a community in the south of the Philippines, and they live in extreme poverty, and the entire village there's about 2,000 people, had no access to clean water. What we ended up doing was hooking them up to fresh water for all of the 2,000 residents, and they meditate and send love every week as a family to pay for that water. So that's a really simple idea of how it works for them. But I guess the more exciting place where we've ended at right now in the early stages is we just opened our first school in Pakistan. So we have a school in Lahore, which is called the Love Farm School. And we take kids who come from the streets. So they live in really, really rundown, extreme poverty areas. Their families don't really have enough to even give them a good square meal every day. And they certainly don't have enough to send them to school. So what we do is we get the kids, we interview the kids, and then when they get selected to come into the school, every morning they learn about love and they meditate for an hour sending love to the donors. And that 1 hour meditation is enough for us to pay for the teachers. We have a chef that cooks them 2 meals a day. We give them a uniform, school books, everything that they need. And what that does is it really empowers them, because they come from families where their parents and their grandparents often haven't even gone to school. And now they're taking their future into their own hands. Like, they understand very well that they are covering the cost of their school with their love that they're generating every morning. And they take it so seriously. It's beautiful to watch. We've got kids from 5 to 14, and they meditate for an hour, and they are just in it. They're not messing around. They are really, really taking this seriously. So I think it's a really interesting social experiment too, right? To see, there's a lot of research that shows that kids learn a lot better when they're meditating. So it's still too early days right now, but we expect to see, and we hope to see, that these kids who've had very little opportunity may well start scoring much higher than the average sort of child of their age. And these are the kinds of things that we'd love to uncover and discover, because it's a very scalable model that can go all over the world. What I've found, we've got a number of businesses that are on board now. And with businesses, what happens is we put the businesses into the experiment group, and they set the intention for where they want the love to go, right? Do they want it to go to their customers, into their product, the combination, to their staff? Then every week, as the love's sent, we track all the love. So companies can get a code which they can put on their website or on their packaging, and by scanning it, it links through and it can show all the love in real time that's flowing to their product or service or the customer. So it gives companies a way to interact with their customers in a way that's never been done before, because customers buy a product and see all this love flowing into it. They start to develop like a much stronger connection, I think, with the company. And so we have one author who's written a book which is getting published next year, and his publishing company has decided to sign up for the experiment. So we'll be releasing the first book that's about love, but love will be being streamed to the readers as they're reading it in a way that they can actually verify and see through our app. So it's quite exciting. There's a lot of possibilities for where it can go.
Can you tell us more about the meditation itself? Because I know for our listeners that maybe have practiced or maybe are interested in practicing meditation, what type of meditation specifically is actually the one that you have chosen to teach the children, as you mentioned, in the school in Pakistan or the Filipino community? Can you just tell us more about that?
We've sort of started off very gently and trying to keep it very, very simple. But you're dealing with people who may have varying levels of literacy, and English obviously isn't spoken where they are. So we're sort of teaching them bit by bit and slowly edging into it.
What is your ultimate vision moving forward for the world's greatest experiment?
Well, what I really want to get is I want to be able to get tangible proof that love can affect our 3D reality, right? So it can make people happier and healthier on both sides, the people sending it and the people receiving it. And I want to be able to show that, businesses can grow faster, be more abundant. I mean, it's a stretch, but the science definitely suggests that that's what we'll uncover. But I guess what my vision is that we live in a world where it doesn't matter where anyone is born or what situation they're born into. If they choose love, they should be able to take care of themselves and the people that they love the most. And that's the ultimate goal, is to scale it to a point where we can show that the love makes enough of a difference that companies everywhere want to put love in. Maybe it becomes the norm one day to have love in your fruit and vegetables and your foods and your wine. And as a result, we're lifting more and more people out of poverty. So essentially what we're doing is turning love into a currency. And that's the ultimate goal, is to prove that love is really the ultimate currency, because it's the only currency that the more you spend it, the more valuable it gets. Everybody that touches the currency of love ends up better off after they've, from transacting with it. And I couldn't think of a single other thing that could be said of. So I feel like love is really a great base for a currency that could change the world.
How has this journey shaped your understanding of joy?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I feel so joyful seeing this happening, and just seeing that this idea, which to most people in the beginning, when they first hear of it, if you're not aware of certain things or you haven't looked into the science of it, it can sound a little bit out there. But seeing how these people react to it, and how non-skeptical the people in the communities are, especially, like they might not have much, but they typically are very joyful, very happy people. And just being around that and seeing how they are has given me immense amounts of joy. But the one surprising thing I'll say is just like when I first went to the community and we started talking to them about this project and what was going to be coming, not one person said like, oh, what would that do? Or why would you send love? Or they were just like, oh yeah, you guys need that. We've seen what's going on, and it was just really interesting that they just immediately understood what we were doing, which is perhaps not something that would happen so much in the West.
And as a result of your journeys and these profound experiences, what have been some of the key cultural differences that you have come across that you could maybe share with us, and that could bring a fresh perspective for our listeners as it relates to experiencing more joy in our lives?
I think the most obvious one that I've sort of just discovered by working with these communities is they seem to be a lot more connected than we are. In the communities, they rely on each other, they look out for each other, they all know their neighbors, they all, if someone's had a problem in the family, or something bad's happened, they pitch in together to give them food, and I feel like that's really what the essence of this project is about banding together and uniting as one and directing that towards something positive. And I think seeing how far ahead they are in certain areas like that has been really interesting for me, because it's not normal now. Like, even me, I don't know my neighbors here, just as I'm talking about it, and just seeing how much more connected they are. I feel like that gives them a lot more joy in their life from what I see. It's certainly, I think we could learn a lot from how they live their lives and how they interact with each other. That's probably in the major thing for me, their sense of community and connectedness and looking out for each other. I think we're lacking a little bit in that.
What advice would you have for those individuals that may have a desire to actually step outside of this isolation reality, so they can actually experience more profound and deep love within their own respective communities?
Well, I mean, one thing I recommend to everybody now is I think if everybody gets the chance to step outside your comfort zone and go and see some of these places and see how some of these people are living, that's enough to shock anyone into appreciating a lot more of what they actually have, because I feel a lot of the time it's almost like we feel sorry for ourselves. We feel hard done by, or we don't have all those things that we see these other people with and stuff. And we forget how lucky we are and how much we've actually got. And yeah, I mean, for me, traveling and getting out to these places and meeting these sort of people has just been an absolute game changer. But what I'm hoping to bring with this project for people who are feeling like that is something that people who are feeling alone or isolated, kids who are being bullied, eventually we want them to all be able to jump in through their smartphone, jump into this sort of stream of love that we're creating. They can meditate with the love farmers, they can receive love from the love farmers, and they can see how they're connected. Something really powerful about that, because we use technology at the moment is designed to sort of connect us, but it kind of has tended to be the thing that's disconnecting us right now. And this is like taking a little bit of that back, and I think using the power of technology to actually connect us in the right way.
Amazing. And if there would be a recipe for joy, what would be the three main ingredients that would be needed?
Well, I mean, I think an abundance of love for sure. Service, I didn't really understand the full extent of that, but after chasing down this dream and starting however small we've started, I find that when you help other people get what they really need, there's really immense amount of joy in that. And then I think the other is connection. We're much stronger together. So I think you put those three together, I think that you'd be pretty well on your way. I'm still figuring it out too myself, of course.
And on this journey of positivity and unconditional love that you want to bring forward, and as you said, transforming love as a currency, what have been some of the toughest moments that you have faced along the way, and how did you pick yourself up in the process?
Well, I guess for me at the moment, the hardest thing in the more recent times has been trying to communicate what I inherently know to be true, which is that this love thing, this energy thing, that there really is something to it and it can make a difference. Trying to figure out how the best way is to communicate it to people of all awareness levels, if you like, that's been the biggest challenge. Because the thing with this project is that it's all about uniting and coming together. The more people that we get in the experiment, the more businesses that we get to say, you know what, this sounds cool. I think I'd like to be part of something like that. The more love we generate, and the more love we generate, the more chance we've got of showing, of shifting the needle in a way that we can prove that it works. So I think the biggest thing since we've gotten started is that we're trying to get this big flywheel moving.
How can our listeners help you?
Well, we have two experiments. One is for individuals. So individuals can contribute. They contribute $100 a month to join the experiment, and that goes out to the love farmers, and then in turn the love comes back to them. So for people who want to be the first humans, as far as I'm aware, in history to stream love into their life every day in a way that can be verified and checked by them, that's a great way to support us. And obviously every new person that joins gets more love for everybody. And then we do the same for businesses too, where we have the opportunity for businesses to come on and get love streaming into their products or services or customers in a way that they can really transform their philanthropy into, what I think would be an incredible marketing opportunity. There's an opportunity now for businesses who really do put love into what they do, which a lot of companies, as you know, say they do. Now there's a chance for them to put their money where their mouth is and say, hey, well, we really do. And here you can see it now. And I think the opportunity for businesses to say we're the first company in our niche or in our country or in the world to have love infused into what we do is a pretty cool thing to get in behind. So yeah, that's really what we're looking for. And obviously any chance to get the word out and talk to the right people, and we welcome it all.
Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you may wish to share with our audience as it relates to living a more joyful and fulfilling life?
Well, I think just realizing the power that love has. If you haven't taken the time to look into any of the research, it's something that I think is a really powerful thing to just educate yourself on a little bit, because there's really something to this. We can't live without love. We can't live without connection, or not a quality sort of life anyway. All the ancient scriptures and all the songs that have stood the test of time, they're all about this thing called love, right? The clues are everywhere for us. And I would just encourage people to be open to looking a little deeper into this, and you might be surprised at what you find. They've done a multitude of experiments. We have two identical plants that are in an identical environment right next to each other. And one of the plants is literally sent love by the kids. They do this a lot in schools to illustrate the effects of bullying and stuff, And then the other plant is the kids are told to say nasty things to it or ignore it. And in every case that I've ever seen documented, like no matter the level of the study, the plant that's shown love absolutely thrives. Like it grows exponentially faster and more abundantly and healthier than the other one. And the other one doesn't just stay stagnant. They die super fast as well. So the fact that they're getting negative emotions into them, it really affects them. And I've got no doubt that it will be just a matter of time before things like requesting fruits and vegetables grown with love, validated to be grown with love, will become something that people will absolutely want once we understand the science a bit better. There's just no question. Everything living thrives with love. That seems to be the direction that the science is pointing in.
Wonderful. Aidan, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you today. And I encourage all our listeners to tune in into the world's largest experiment, to discover your journey to participate and get involved, because it's such a powerful concept. And I truly wish you immense success moving forward.
Thank you. And for those that do want to check out a little bit more, the website is The World's Greatest Experiment. Thank you.